Welcome to another episode of Mealtime Magic and Mayhem. Today, I'm thrilled to have Amy Lewis joining us. She's a master health coach and block therapy instructor with nearly 3 decades of experience in the health and wellness space. She's all about helping people create simple, sustainable habits that last a lifetime, which fits right in my wheelhouse with creating simple, sustainable habits when it comes to mealtime. Because when we feel good, we do good. And when we do good, we show up better for ourselves and for our families. Her expertise covers a broad range from gut health and mental wellness to something called fascia realignment, which I can't wait to dive into today. Her work is focused on guiding clients through holistic transformations of body, mind, and spirit. And she really focuses on meeting you exactly where you're at and helps you make one small step change at a time. She's also a huge advocate of using practices like mindful breathing to enhance health and well-being, including at the dinner table. What's
Mm.
really exciting is how well Amy's approach aligns with our mission here at Mealtime Magic and Mayhem, like I already said. She's passionate about making health practical and accessible even for busy families. And today, we are going to look at how her methods can help shift the energy around mealtime from chaos to calm and turn it into a chance to reconnect with your people. So, Amy, you say hello, first of all.
Thank you so much for having me on today. I loved listening to the introduction, and it really is such a seamless match. So thank you for inviting me to chat today.
Yeah, I'm excited. Listeners, I we jokingly say we're going to try to keep it to 30 minutes, but if we go over, listen to it in pieces, listen to it when you can. We're just going to have a great casual conversation about her experience and how we can relate that to mealtime and give you some actionable strategies. So, you've been in the health and wellness space for nearly 30 years.
Mm.
Share a little bit about what drew you to this field and kind of how it's evolved over time.
Yeah, thank you so much. I got into, as many of us do get into our line of work when we take it into entrepreneurship, I got into health and wellness from my own experience. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, which in this day and age is really well known, but in 1982 it was not. And, that led me on a journey of really learning what worked and what didn't. And for me, the medications didn't work. The traditional Western treatment route did not work for me. And I then began to research and, as I got older, not when I was 12, I had a very great experience when I was 12 that my doctor, and I think this is really important for parents and adults out there with kids, the doctor spoke directly to me and said, "Yep, you got this disease and you can say tough shit and go live your life, or you can stay home and wait to get a stomach ache because you will get stomach aches." And it was really one of the biggest gifts that I could have been given in a time where it really, stunk to be feeling like something's wrong with you when you already do feel like everything's wrong with you at 12,
Yeah,
13, right? Like your
for
body's
sure.
changing. So that was really, that was the impetus and was really like, okay, I don't want a colostomy bag. I don't want to keep having surgeries. What are the alternatives? And as I began to heal with the guidance of others, that really took me down the nutritional path. I was already doing the fitness stuff as many young girls and women. I was initially interested in the aesthetics, to be completely transparent, but I got incredible results in my mental health and in my digestive health. And that really was like, wow, there's something here. So that was what initially got me in. And then, like many of us, my dad unfortunately passed away young in his mid 50s, heart disease, cancer, diabetes. And from what I have learned, other than the again, mental health and depression was also part of his journey. The the dis-ease parts of the physical body, from what I've learned, can be treated. So that's really, my own experiences, my family's experiences, and just seeing for people that are looking for an alternative, for people who are looking for another way, there is. So it's just, and that fits into meeting people where they are, right? Not everybody wants to give up foods and not everybody wants to do that. But for those who I say, I know what I put in my body matters. That's really, that's what I learned over my experience and then my education.
That's wow, what an interesting journey you've had. And I just can't even imagine at 12 and dealing with that. I mean, one, you've dealt with it your whole life, but I think of all of the teenagers that could be struggling with it now. And I know a lot more is known, But that's not something you want to talk about in your teenage years in the height of everything embarrassing you. Not to mention just, yeah, just being 12 and hormonal and, like you said, miserable with everything.
Pretty much.
Unsure of,
And that's
uh,
you're right. That was a big thing. My parents were very much, they honored me. I didn't want anyone to know I had a disease. And like I said, it wasn't like it was people knew what Crohn's disease was. Like they had no clue. I did have a cousin, interestingly enough, who is now in her 80s, 90s, maybe, that had Crohn's disease, but she had it before it was even a named disease. So she grew up sick and in and out of the hospital. And my mom would tell me these stories, and her Crohn's eventually was managed with medication, mine was not. So it's very interesting that she's so much older or whatever. So I'm 54. She's probably 30 or 40 years older than I am. And she had that as well. But at 12, yeah, I didn't want anyone to know. And my parents didn't tell anyone. And I'll tell you when they did was, if you're familiar with steroids, I was on prednisone and my whole face blew up. My rest of my body stayed, but my whole face blew up, and people were like contacting my parents saying, "There's something wrong with Amy." And my parents, because they were seeing this and they thought my parents just didn't know because they saw me every day, and they finally were like, "Can we please tell, these close family friends?" So, you do those of you that are 12, 13, in your teens and any young adult age, people care. And so I just, as an adult, I can look back and see that. As a child, when I finally said yes, it was to people that were very close to the family.
yeah.
And so just know that as embarrassed as you feel, everyone has a human body. Everyone's had diarrhea before. And it sucks to talk about it, right? And to have to go to school and to find the bathrooms. And that's exactly why I do what I do. I'm not going to say that I don't still have habits of being like, okay, is there a private bathroom? But I don't need it the way
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. It's almost like once you have chronic digestive issues, you're just sort of trained to know where they are as soon as you go in. Like it's really sad,
Exactly.
actually. But
So wait a minute, is there something private? Is there a family bathroom? Right. But at the same time, just know that there is hope no matter what path you do choose. And there's a lot, as you said, between, 12, 13. That's a lot of stress in our lives. That mental stress can wreak havoc on the gut as well. So
so we're
know
talking to busy families. So if you have kids in that age range that are having, whether it's Crohn's or chronic digestive issues, like keep that conversation open so that they know it's okay to have those conversations, right? Because, I know a lot of adults that don't want to talk about those subjects either, but the more we can keep that communication line open, the better, as well as really teaching them. And I'm sure we'll get into some of this in our further conversation, but really helping them understand, I'm not going to use the words good or bad, but what foods are in alignment with the way their body processes and which
Mhm.
ones aren't. To pay attention to how they feel the day after they've eaten something, right? Like that's
That
really
is
important.
phenomenal, and everyone's gonna be different, so I know sometimes parents get frustrated because they don't wanna be a short order cook, and I totally get that, and different bodies handle different foods differently. So there might be something that looks like a really healthy meal, but that person's biology won't handle it, right? So you really when and the other thing that works with teenagers that I often forget, and that I'm reminded of when there's some blowout, is email or text. Kids are embarrassed. It's hard to talk about these things. They're emotional. You can text them and say, "Hey, I noticed you're not feeling well, or it seems like you're in the bathroom a lot. I don't want to embarrass you, but is there any way I can help?" So if you're not just saying it to them, I know. And Tricia and I were just talking before this about a little situation. I'm like, I probably should have texted that instead of asking and now directly to her face. Again, I mean, that's even where I'm in my 50s, my brother's in his 40s. We will still text with my mom about difficult things because
Mm.
we're human. So I just want to throw that strategy out there. We forget. We're so busy. We say something in the moment. It might, since we're busy and rushed, it might come off in a way that we don't mean.
Yeah.
So if you're finding that a topic is really difficult to discuss, I found that that works really well with all ages, and most of us have some sort of release.
So your focus on gut health and mental wellness is so relevant to busy families struggling with stress and overwhelm. And we know that stress contributes to all of these issues. Can you explain how these aspects affect our overall being, especially when it comes to creating like a family mealtime? And we've touched on it a little bit already, but
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, we're all so busy, right? And we're coming back together to reconnect, but we're still bringing those stressors in from our day. And then if there's stressors at home, if there's been any sort of arguments, or maybe there's a big project, or maybe there's, even going on a great family vacation, there's still a lot of preparation. So a lot of us don't, this is going to be complete. You're going to be like, this has nothing to do with mealtime. It's really setting yourself up for success. So this might seem extraneous, but what I highly recommend, and I always encourage my own family to do, is to honor your transition time. We will do that when kids are toddlers, right? We will give them time because they need transition time. Well, a lot of times we do as adults to sort of let go intentionally the office, or, I work from home, but this office, right? So that now my full attention is with my family. So if you are coming home from the grocery store, even if you do have young kids and you're like the parents, they are. If you just take a few moments to do that deep breathing, even just 3 strong deep breaths, first of all, the kids are going to see you doing it and they're going to start to mimic you. They do. But that's going to help to bring your stress hormones down, right? We get elevated, elevated, elevated all day long, all of this stuff coming at us. Now we're trying to create a meal, and maybe we have sports and we have homework, and maybe the adults have projects. So it's, again,
yeah.
and this isn't going to happen overnight, but how can you be intentional? How can you say, can you get together with your family, and depending on your kids' ages, oftentimes you definitely need to lead, but can you make some parameters around mealtime? Can you recruit your family to help? When I work with clients, that's a lot, especially around family mealtime. And it's exciting to watch people come in and their kids aren't helping at all, and they're overwhelmed because they're doing all the meal prep and they're doing all the cleanup and they're packing all the lunches, and the mom is doing everything, and it typically is the mom. I'm not trying to be sexist,
No,
so
it typically is. I
it
mean,
doesn't
you could
mean,
be talking about a dad right now too,
yeah,
right? Either
exactly.
way, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And so when we take that responsibility on, we take the weight of the world, and what we're doing is we're stressing ourselves out, and we're disempowering our family members.
Yeah.
So that's a lose-lose. So what we want to do is make this a win-win. So what do we want at family time? We want it to be calm. We have this idea, right? We want to be able to connect, but we know someone's going to be probably in not such a good mood. So you can't deal with these things when that's happening, right? If somebody's really, you can't start being like, well, how can we make mealtime really nice, right? So that's not the time to do it. But maybe, again, it could be that email or that text, and say, we want to make mealtime fun. What ideas do you have?
Yeah.
The kids come up with really, even as teenagers and young adults, they come up with really great things. So I know I'm not giving you a specific thing. Number one, I am honor your transition times, and even just take 3 strong deep breaths, fill all the way up and exhale all the way out. You cannot hold on to your stress when you're focused on your breath. Those stress hormones are going to wreak havoc in your gut. It just ends up triggering the bad bacteria. You can have stomach pain. You don't feel like eating, or you want to eat crap because now you're in fight or flight, right? So
Yeah.
those 3 strong breaths are going to be my number one tool for you, no matter where you are, right? Especially if you have younger kids and you are just strapped to the max. So that's going to be the first thing. And then the next thing would be do you want to take the time to engage your family, or do you want to sort of silently start changing the energy of mealtime? And I'm going to pause there because I feel like I've said a lot of things and I really want to simplify for people. And so the 3 breaths are going to be really, really important. And then let's go from there.
Yeah, I love that because you know that all of my work is about shifting the energy of mealtime, right? And I do. I mean, what you said has everything to do with mealtime, quite honestly, because there is that transition time, and I work with my clients a lot on what does that look like for you? Is it 3 deep breaths? Is it um, are you tired and you need to be energized and you need to find a playlist that lifts you up, or are you all angsty and you need a playlist that calms you down? Is it the 3 deep breaths? Is it having somebody come into the kitchen while you take that transition time? Can you ask your husband, your spouse, your partner, your children, here's what we're cooking tonight. Can you just get everything out for me and on the counter while I take 5 minutes?
Mhm.
And we really do have to lead by example because the energy that we bring to the table is the energy they read and they receive. So we want to change the energy. It has to start with us.
100%. And I used to be so mad. Like, I remember being like, why does my mood need to dictate everything? And then it's actually empowering and keeps you in check. Now, that does not mean I don't lose it. It doesn't mean I'm not in a bad mood and have something happen, but it does mean that we bring awareness to that and say, okay, I do get to create what I want and I'm only in control of me.
Right.
And so I love that you're saying, what is it? The breathing is going to come into play, but it might not be your first go to because if you're amped up, taking 3 strong deep breaths, if you're not practiced in that, if that's not something that's part of you, you're gonna feel really resistant to it. So the playlist is a great idea. Maybe you wanna dance it out when you're
Then all of a sudden you remember to breathe, right?
yeah,
Like
that you
the
do.
trigger to, or it could be like, now I'm calm, right? Like it all that works together. The other thing I'm going to say about the energy that we bring, if you're cooking with stressed, angsty, tapped out energy, I'm going to tell you the food is not going to taste as good and they will be able to taste it and feel it. As crazy as that sounds, everything is energy. So
Everything is energy, and I love that you brought that into it because it is true. Do you ever notice somebody in a really here's a really interesting one. My father passed away. My mother was never a great cook, but after my father passed away, it was like bad. She was so miserable and so sad, and it was like she had to eat to survive. And then my son was born, and boy, did the food change. Nothing was all over the moon with the first grandchild, and everything was delicious. She was bringing us food. I mean, she had never been a better cook, right? But the joy in her heart and the joy, and I have goosebumps now even talking about it, the joy that was brought back to her life by, and this was an event outside of her, right? But
Mhm.
you could really taste that in the food. So
Yeah, it's
I love
fascinating. If
what
you
you
don't
bring
believe
to
us, I want you to pick a dish and I want you to cook it on a really shitty day when you don't take the deep breaths, right? And I want you to pay attention to how much did you burn? What did you forget to put in it? What did it taste like? And what was the conversation like around the table?
yeah,
And then I want you the next time to take the 3 deep breaths, the playlist, whatever it is, cook the same dish after you've taken that breath and thought, instead of I have to feed these people, I want you to think I have an opportunity to nourish and connect with my people.
such a shift.
That's what's different.
Yeah. It's so and it feels so different, and remember, it's not if you're not in these habits, it's okay. You're gonna take a step forward and 2 or 3 back, right? And then you're sort of retraining your family as well. If they're used to us being uptight and stressed out, then they're feeling that and acting on that. The other gift we're giving to our families is showing our families that even though life can be stressful and there can be challenges all the time, we can still have this respite around the table where everything else melts away. Because so what's really been on my mind, and I do want to do a post about this because I have spent, unfortunately, a lot of time in cemeteries lately, and where I have noticed, but this is really relevant. What I have noticed is all it says is a name, dates, maybe loving son or husband or whatever, or, for women, something different. Nowhere does it say how much money you made, what your job was, how your relationship is with your kids or your spouse or your parents or your siblings or your community. And so what the epiphany for me, which I've known, but it just really like that being in the cemetery like that was like, oh my gosh, like it really is up to me. And it really is like no one else is responsible for my experience besides me. And when it's all over, no one's going to know what that was except for me. So I want to give you that gift, not to be morbid, but to remind you that life is brutally short. And so to find the joy because your experience around the table in the kitchen, and then as that seeps, when you're better people, better world, when we feel good, we do good. and you will ripple out and make this a better world because you took the time to find joy and love within your heart. And when you realize that nothing else matters, and it's taken me a long time, so please don't take it like I say, it's not that. It's just such a gift when you can have those moments. So it's again, like you said, Trisha, you get to nourish these people, you get to love on them, and you could just say, "I'm really freaking tired today, and I
I
have
can't
everything
do it.
planned. Can you help me?" Or you know what? I can't do it. Can we order out, or there's leftovers, or be so that you're honoring yourself, but also giving your family members the gift of the example of them being able to honor
Yes.
themselves,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
And I will tell you, like, even when you do have these habits ingrained and this is more of your lifestyle, you're still going to screw it up.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it right because we all have really shitty days where we just can't do it and we forget to do the things until in hindsight, you're like, wow, that was an unsatisfying meal in every way.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yes.
we're still gonna have those moments. The other thing I wanna point out as we talk about the kitchen and the table, please remember that that can be proverbial, right? Like, I'm not talking about sitting around the table like we're in the 1950s every night of the week, like, that is so not my jam. But do we try to sit at the table once a week? Yes. Sit at the do we even sit on the couch and watch TV together while we're eating dinner? Yes. Watching a show that we bond over and talk about, or that is something that has been interesting to my kids, right? Like it's the tables, whatever you make it. Forget the coulds, the shoulds, the
Mhm.
1950s. I don't know many June cleavers that exist. Reality.
I love that you
It-
brought that up because I was brought up and my mother was, she was born in the 1940s and I grew up in the 1970s. I was born in 1970 and we did have a dinner every single night at the table. My mother was very regimented and my husband did not grow up that way. And so it took me a long time to be okay with sitting on the couch and eating dinner in front of the television because that did not go on in my house. There was
Well, no, and
no.
all the health gurus say don't eat in front of the TV.
Yeah.
I think the point is don't mindlessly eat in front of the TV.
No, I agree with you. That's, when I do tell people that we're eating an entire bag of chips if you're not being mindful. So
Yeah.
really being intentional is the theme that I'm sharing in our conversation is let's be intentional about, what are we creating at home? How do we meet the needs of, different people? There are families that say, "Oh, you have somebody has celiac, everybody's gluten free." But there are other families that say, "Okay, how can we best support this person?" And not other people, because it can backfire if you make your entire family go gluten-free when, although I do believe it is the best for people's bodies, some people can tolerate it, and if I make you not have it, you're likely gonna go nuts on it, which will be very unhealthy.
Yeah.
So, it's again, what's right for your family, which can be really frustrating when you're listening to a podcast that's like, "But tell me what to do." And really, it's honoring yourself, your family, and then what's the intention? I always want to lead with love. I want to find joy. Do I do it? Do I find it all the time? No. But again, what is your intention? What's right for your family? Is there a way to say, okay, so you're not short order cooking? Like that's really hard in busy families. But if you know you have a gluten free person or dairy free person, in this day and age, it's usually pretty simple to find things,
It
right?
is.
And the stuff doesn't taste like crap anymore. It's not like cardboard anymore. So a lot of times my family will be like, "Wow, that's gluten free. Wow, that's healthy." Like I just don't tell them. And
Right? I
well,
think
they're
we have
really
so
open
much.
to it if I don't tell them. If I tell them that, they get an attitude in their mind already. But when I don't tell them, nothing they don't know. And then if they're like, "This is great," I'm like, "Yeah, it's gluten free." So
I love that. And also remember that now you have resources, right? So, one of my favorite things to do is help create routines and process and solutions for people who do have dietary restrictions. And how
mhm.
can we make it so that it's easy to feed your whole family and not be a short order cook? Like, there's lots of creative ways to do that. And it doesn't, like you said, doesn't have to be where everybody's eating gluten free and it doesn't have to be where you're cooking multiple meals. Like, there is a middle ground that can be really fun and delicious. And I know that it can be a real adjustment, right? Like, it's a real adjustment to figure out how to cut out those things, especially if you're used to cooking a certain way or raised cooking a certain way, there are challenges there. So, as we talk about that, let's talk about how do we balance that nutrition, that wellness, and those realistic expectations? Like, what advice do you have for them when it comes to setting those realistic health goals as they're transitioning into that or discovering that it's an issue, right?
I think the number one thing is to really identify, and it's again, this being intentional. What is your goal? Like, why do you even care? Why are you changing your meal time? Why does something need to change? Why are you listening to this podcast? Why did you reach out to Tricia? Why are you like, huh, what does Amy have to say? So number one is why? Why is it even important to you? So you want to go and see, well, maybe your kids are, having reactions, or maybe it's just like, it's mayhem and I can't take this anymore. It's chaos and it's just not healthy for anyone, right? So whatever it is, there's no right or wrong. But as you hear with anything, whether it's your health, whether it's your fitness goals, whether it's your financial goals, your education goals, you've got to be rooted in why is this important to you? Because it will be challenging. And when things are challenging as humans, it's nothing wrong with you. It's just human beings are like, it's too hard, throw in the towel. And if you don't have a strong why, and if you don't get sick every single time you eat gluten or dairy like I do, you are not going to do those things if you're not really rooted. And believe me, even after I was diagnosed at 12, I'm 54. Almost daily, I am looking at something and going, don't eat that. You're going to feel like crap. Your stomach's going to hurt. You're going to be in the bathroom the rest of the night. So even though I know this, I still have those conversations and need to be intentional. And I know what bothers me more than other things. So that's number one is why. Number two, for yourself, as you said earlier, Tricia, start to pay attention to how you're feeling. And so if you're listening to this, whether you're an adult or you are a not quite there yet as an adult, you're
Mhm.
a young person, school age, coming into maybe tween and then teen and young adulthood, this do empower yourself. How do you want to feel? Maybe you never even thought about that, right? Why do we even eat? So number one is why. Why are you trying to change your meal time? What is it? Like, and then not only why, right? When we look at why do we want to change it, we're usually looking at the problem, which is very important. And then if you, in an ideal world, if I could wave a magic wand, what do you want your meal times to look like? Now, it doesn't have to, right? Like if you're like, well, I would love chew and cleaver, like I want those. So how can you work that in and then also meet your family, right? I've been saying to my family, I'd really like to sit down at the table. Like when the kids come home for dinner, I like once in a while, they're not here ever anymore. So
Yeah.
I personally would like to sit at a table without the TV on because I want to connect with them. They're just not, they don't really live here. Right. So that's important to me. When it's like, oh, we're just going to break bread together and enjoy the meal together and talk about, we're connecting about whatever's on the television. It's a different it's just different experience, right? So number one is why. Why are you changing meal times at all? In a perfect world, what would that look like for you and your family? And then we can look at, all right, how do we make that happen? Right? Like you said, you meet people where they are. I do the same thing. I don't say you have to change everything today. That would be like,
Yeah. Here's your meal plan. Oh, that's
like,
like the fastest way to failure for me is to tell me what to do and exactly how to do it.
isn't it funny? Because so it's really interesting. I had a fitness studio for years and then I've been online and I've been in the business for almost 30 years. And I find a lot of people will ask for the opposite of the way they actually work. They'll be like, I want a meal plan and I want to cheat. And then they're like, but I can't do this. And then we go back to that really flexible, like, okay, you need to get some greens in. And again, there's things that are just, it's re educating ourselves. When the kids were growing up, I had a book called like How to Get Your Kid to Eat, but Not Too Much. I don't know if you've heard of that book. It's
Mhm.
really, really good because, we have, when I grew up, it was like 3 meals a day. And then when I was first in fitness, it was like every 2 to 3 hours. Everyone's body is different and every day is different. So it's really, setting that intention, that why. What do you want to change? Why do you want to change it? In an ideal world, what does that look like for you? And then just looking at, what could you imagine doing? And a lot of people quit before they start because they think they have to work out 3 times a week and drink 8 glasses of water, and I have to eat more foods, like, but since we're talking about mealtime, and you get in 1 green vegetable at dinner time, right? I don't care if you have pizza, can you get, and I'm not saying pizza's bad, I like pizza too. Like, can you, and I do gluten and dairy free because I'm I do, can you do something green, right? So it's, again, why are you doing it? Why do you want to change? What do you want things to look like? And then what's one thing that you could imagine either adding in,
Mhm.
right? Or one thing that you're like, this has got to stop. It could be that you really feel like crap and you're having a glass of wine every night. And if you're honest with yourself, it's making you depressed. And you wake up in the morning and you don't feel good. And maybe you're like, screw you, Amy. I drink a glass of wine every night and I feel fine. So that's fine. I'm not telling you not
But
to.
for somebody else, it might not, right?
Right. But if you are honest with yourself and you know that something's not making you feel good, are you willing? Are you ready? Right? There's no,
Yeah.
are you ready to give yourself the gift of saying, you know what? I don't want to feel that way. It's, again,
Yeah.
why? Why do you want to change anything anyway? Something's got to give why. What do you want it to look like? And then what's one thing that you can do that, either add or take away?
I love that. Our styles are very similar, and I love that. I'm sitting here listening to you going, "Did you already listen to one of my podcasts?" That's so funny. So one of the things and then in our conversations previously that I was totally blown away by, and we've talked about Crohn's and chronic digestive issues and like, and even if it's not chronic digestive issues, but everybody, I would venture to say almost everybody has at least one food intolerance, right? Foods that don't make us feel good. Gut, we know that the gut to brain connection is incredibly important. And you were talking to me about something called block therapy and fascia realignment. And it's not something I've ever heard of. And you sort of blew my mind with it. So tell us a little bit about what that is and how those techniques can help with common, I'm gonna say mealtime or food complaints like stress, bloating, discomfort.
Absolutely. So block therapy is the missing link. And it is really interesting because the creators of block therapy, and you can see these boxes behind me with their logo on it. When I do have blocks, I'll pull out for you in just a moment. The I was going to say something about the woman who created it, but I don't remember what I was going to say. So I'll come back to that.
Happens all the time.
Oh, but she says that. So before I even knew that it said, block therapy, the missing link within Alfred Wellness, I've been, having been in the industry for so many years, I discovered block therapy probably about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more. It's been around for about as long as I've been in health and wellness.
Really?
Really exciting to hear. And the greatest thing about block therapy is you literally lie around on this block and you get sick. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, oh,
It
that's
sounds
sweet.
crazy.
Sounds crazy. But what happens is, I'm just going to grab my block, buddy. What happens is we have a fascial sheath over the entire body, and it actually connects to every cell in our body. So we are getting information. The fascia is getting information from every cell in the body. And what happens is we're living, right? We're living life and we're fighting gravity and we're aging and we begin to spiral forward and we begin to compress. So if you've ever been tight in your chest or you notice maybe bloating and yeah, right? And the rib cage, and sometimes I don't know, why is my stomach sticking out? And it's simply the ribs are compressing and pushing the organs down.
Mm.
There's nowhere for them to go. So now our belly's bloated. Now, I am not diagnosing, obviously, but I do need to say that for those of you listening, that's very, very common. And the fascia will adhere to bone with an up to 2,000 pound per square inch force. So what that means is the fascia is adhering to the bone and then pulling the body out of alignment. So what block therapy does, it creates space and it allows your body not only realign the fascia, but to realign the entire body on a cellular level. So if you imagine maybe like a crushed, like maybe there's like a if you ever saw those Pilates small balls and when you lie
Yeah,
down.
or like what are the micro, they're facial, little facial, but like I even have the little ones that
Oh,
roll
yeah.
on your toes and
Yeah. So
okay.
you can do those. So people are like, isn't it like a foam roller? Is it? So those are all fascia release tools for sure. What makes this different? And I'm like, it really has changed my life. I got into block therapy because a colleague and friend of mine told me about it. And we do this to each other for decades. And that's how I introduced the TRX and suspension training to her years and years ago. We then got certified together. She told me about block therapy. We always are sort of eye rolling and then like, all right, tell me the other. We know like we get it. We really do our research.
Yeah.
So when I first started, which I shared with you, the sampler program. There's a sampler program that you can use a roll towel as your tool. When you start getting incredible results, you start to be like, well, can I use a yoga block? You can, but you really can't. This is the block. And you can see, you probably can't tell because we're on Zoom. It's a little smaller than a yoga block. It has rounded edges.
Yeah.
It fits, right? You use it for your whole body, but we start right on the belly button. And when we start with diaphragmatic breathing. So you had asked about the gut brain connection. When we are stressed and then we're eating junk, our gut is getting gunked up. We can't absorb nutrients. And now the vagus nerve, which is responsible for communicating the gut and the brain, is not able to get those signals back and forth. So that can create just a feeling of just being overwhelmed. It can create sadness. It can create a lot of things. It can create just serious mental issues, right? So with depression, what block therapy can do, and what I love about block therapy is if you ever wanted to be able to lay around and get fit, and I am not telling people not to do other activities or move their bodies, but this is a wonderful way to start. Because what will happen is you start to create the space. Now the organs go back where they belong, the cells rehydrate instead of being crushed. Now they balloon right back into that circular, really buoyant state. Your whole body starts to feel lighter and you start to open up. So, how does that affect gut health? Because now you've got the oxygen flowing, you've got the blood flowing. Now you've opened up the nerve pathways. And since you talk about energetics, you're opening up the meridians so that your energy can flow. And it's
Well, I would also imagine, like, with all of that, you naturally have more energy. You're naturally just feeling better, right? More comfortable, even, which then is going to help you with that motivation to do the other exercise that you don't have when you feel like shit.
exactly. And it's a great place to start. So
Mhm.
when you are in the mode of not like, I'm hitting snooze, I'm rolling over, or, "Oh, I'm so stressed after work and I'm not even going for that walk." When you start with this, and I tell clients, start with 3 minutes a day. Start with 3 minutes a day just in the belly position. And the belly position is literally right on your belly button. It's more unleashed. This is a ski sweatshirt from my kids were in this Unleashed program, but it's really a good message. But this is right below my ribs, above my pelvic bone. I am the size of a 10-year-old, so just letting you know. Never grew
You're
more
tiny.
a little more space than I do. But we start there, and it's very, it's not confusing. It's very, very simple. And that's why I try to just distill it down to creating space, realigning on a cellular level. And when we do those things, you're calmer. Right now, your cortisol levels are not, your stress hormones are not through the roof. Now you can begin to make these decisions from a more grounded place, simply from really being able to break up what's going on in the gut. It's really, and it sounds like crazy, right? How can realign the body, but it's really, again, it's a whole practice. So it will blow your mind. I have a very small group here locally, it's about like literally, I can fit 5 people in the streets, but it's a 2.5 hour like intro discussion. And it's people leave or they message me saying they can't believe how amazing they feel. So for those of you listening, if you're like, what are you talking about? I would love, I'm obsessed with this. And this is a big piece when I do personal plans for people. I do a long term plan, but then we start somewhere, right? So as practitioners, we can sort of see that 30,000-foot view, but then we share with you the next step so you're not overwhelmed, right? If we piled all the food on a table that you were going to eat today, you'd probably be overwhelmed, but we give it to you a little bit at a time. So that's the way what I'd like to gift you as a sampler program. So you can get little bites at a time and use a roll towel at home, and you will start to feel amazing. And you're going to be like, Amy, what the heck is this? I need blocks. I need buckets. I need block. And I do run things online as well. My business is online. I just also like to connect in my little Vermont and I
Sure.
know people.
I love that. Thank you so much for offering that really generous gift. I love the idea that they can try it out and, see what it's all about when it sounds a little bit crazy, but if it's 3 minutes a day and I have a towel, like, why not try it?
And I do want to clarify that the lessons so what happens is you get connected to block therapy, which is amazing. And I do personally know Deanna and Quinn who are in the videos. They are like incredible people. They are into the energetics that they are, Deanna was a body worker and she noticed the spiraling, the Fibonacci sequences in the body. I'm I'm definitely this is something I'm very passionate about, so I'm controlling myself. It's really an amazing practice. What got me into it were 2 things. I broke my back in 2020 in 4 places. I was grateful that I could walk. I was grateful that I could participate in life. I was not getting into a bike park again. I was 50 years old when it happened. I was following my son. I was on a trail I'd been on a million times, but I was showing off. Never show off for your teenage son. And I ended up just it was totally right or error. I thought I would have back pain forever, which was a small price to pay, right? Because I had broken 4 different places in my back. I couldn't walk. It was terrible. When I started this practice, the 2 things that sold me were my back pain went away. No more back pain.
It's amazing.
And then my digestion improved. And I was like, my digestion is pretty good, like with all these years in the
Yeah.
field. But it was amazing. And then my reverse testimonial, Tricia, was that I was in Florida for a couple months with my mom, and I was not intentional with my block therapy. And you can imagine it was very stressful. She was very ill. And so
Yeah.
everything started to compress again. I noticed, wow, get on that block, do what you tell your clients to do. And then with my nephew, I had it in the hospital. I was like, I'm not making that mistake again. So it's a really amazing, simple practice. You can do it on the couch. You can follow the lessons or not. But I am happy, to answer any questions because it does sound nuts. But it's a really incredible scientific approach. So thank
Awesome.
you.
Well, I can't wait to get started on mine.
I can't
I
wait
got
for you.
mine yesterday. So, all right. So, as we wrap up, and I have a feeling I know what it's going to be, but if you had one key message you want our listeners to take away from today's conversation, what would it be?
Oh, one key thing. Meet yourself where you are. Stop being so hard on yourself. Meet yourself where you are and know that all you need to do is take the one next step. Like, what's the best next step? I'm wondering what she thought I was going to say, but that's really what's coming through. I have learned also to really listen and allow those messages to come through. So just meet yourself where you are. You're doing amazing, right? Notice that, celebrate that, and then let's take that one next step. You know me, I strongly believe in breathing, but it's hard to remember that sometimes. So what's the best, it might be the best worst choice, because sometimes that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
that's what I would
That's
say.
that's beautiful.
Sure.
We don't do a good enough job of meeting ourselves where we're at. We would never talk to someone else the way we talk to ourselves.
So what I tell people, and I just want to share this with you really quickly. When I do teach yoga also, and when we do like a full body stretch and we hug, I watching these, I'm going to be totally transparent. I've been watching these Instagram videos just because they like are so heartwarming. Do you ever see those videos where the person surprised, like they came home from the military or they haven't seen the other person in forever? It's like parents or spouses and the other person they run to each other and
Mhm.
they just like you can see love and the
Mhm.
intensity. And so, what I want to invite you to do is give yourself that love. Be that person for you and try again in each moment, right? We're so used to not thinking we're good enough.
Mhm.
So, please watch those videos on Instagram. But I don't want to encourage you to mindlessly scroll, but I'll tell you, they are heartwarming. And if you can be that person for yourself, because you are the only one you're guaranteed to be with forever, you are gonna be way ahead of the game. So,
So true, and
yes,
will improve all your other relationships. It really will. It really
yeah,
will. So is there
absolutely.
anything else you want us to know about your business, programs, offers, and where everybody can connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me. I have, very simple, right? I've simplified over the years. I have some very simple ways that you can get started. Like I said, I'm happy to gift you the sampler program. I do have a mindful breathing guide, which is incredible. Also, a free gift for you. And when you're ready to get started, I go step by step, right? A simple 10-day detox. And then we step up if you're ready for just a comprehensive audit, right? When I do audits, I want to see and showcase and shine that light on what you're doing right. So when I do a comprehensive health, nutrition, and lifestyle audit, the first thing I do is point out what you're doing well and keep doing these things. And then we look at what can you add, right? Once we create that term. And then of course the block therapy. So, I would say I don't want to overwhelm you. Grab the sampler program. I have to do it in a little bit of a different way. So I'm going to say to reach out to me. You can either email me and I'll share that with you, Amy at fusionfitnessvt as in Vermont.com. And you can find me on social media. And I'm laughing because I just changed my handles. And I don't remember on my Instagram. I think I'm like Amy Lewis, Master Health Coach.
Mhm.
But we can list those, Trisha.
Yeah, we're gonna drop
Um,
all the links in the show notes, and
So
it's
yeah, you
been
can.
so fun talking to you.
Yeah, it's so great talking to you. And you can even drop questions here,
Yeah,
and I can work
absolutely.
it out with you. So put you first. Please love on yourself. When we love ourselves, we do so much better, and better people, better world. I truly, truly believe that. So thank you so much. I know there's more to come for us.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's been so fun, and I'm so fascinated. I love your story, and I'm just so fascinated, and I can't wait to learn more about block therapy. We would love to know what you think about the episode. If you have any questions for either one of us, please drop them here wherever you're listening or watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Take care.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Mealtime Magic and Mayhem. I hope you're feeling a little more ready to tackle the dinner chaos and find some magic in the everyday. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could take a quick minute to leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening. Your feedback helps this show reach more amazing women just like you. It totally makes my day to hear what's resonating with you. Until next time, keep finding those sparks of joy around the table. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.